Everybody has to do it. Everybody's done it. Don't let anybody tell you that they haven't. Everybody's blown up something at some point. It's just a rite of passage. Once you do it, you're like, okay, I'll never do it again. Technically a professional now. So
yeah. To have that one thing, you're like, nope, I remember exactly how I felt, what burned down that day. I remember everything. We're not having that. We're not having that happen again. So awesome.
It's a good lesson, and everybody's got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, don't get electrocuted, but it's okay to blow something up. That's the lesson.
Oh, man.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Black Student Success Podcast, where we bring you insight and guidance from successful Black professionals and students. My name is Selvin, and as always, we appreciate the support. So today we have Danielle Edwards on the show. She is a lighting director. So if you think about your favorite show or concert that you ever attended, she's the person responsible for all the lights, colors, sequences, everything that happens from start to finish. So she's going to talk about her experience and especially how she got into the field, and that's going to be really important to highlight. So Danielle, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for being on the show. So let's start how we always do by asking, who is Danielle Edwards?
Danielle Edwards is a creative kid who was not going to be able to do a 9-to-5, that's for sure, who found some really great people and some really great support, and who has found out what she loves to do in life and is doing it.
Yeah, awesome. So let's jump right into your story as far as how you got into just the work of lighting with live shows and things like that, and how you eventually made it up to a director. It looks like in multiple, jobs and positions. What was that path like for you?
So I had a really, really unique start. I did an internship. I would not recommend anybody trying to get started this way necessarily. I did an internship where I paid to tour. It was a faith-based internship. We did conferences all around the country for churches. And then I paid $16,000 for 3 years or something like that. And then I met people. That is something I would definitely suggest people to do, is meet people. I let them know that I was serious about my job. I was serious about learning. I met some people who were really great. They told me, I was living in Texas at the time. They told me if I wanted to do touring and lighting and live events as a professional, that I would have to move to Nashville. And at the time, I believed them. So I did. I moved to Nashville, and I'm thankful that I did. I was, cleaning tables and prepping shows to go out on the road, and had my first opportunity to go out on a tour just as a spotlight operator. So the big follow spots that people see following the artist around or whatnot. I was running one of those for a tour, worked my butt off, and then had the opportunity to go on tour as a lighting director. And I guess the rest is history.
Nice.
Taking those opportunities, meeting people, letting them know what I wanted to do. And that's how I got my start in this world.
Nice. And especially taking that leap to even make the move, now, were there any doubts when you made the move to Nashville, or were you just like full throttle, I'm going to just go for it?
There were so many doubts. I had maybe $2,500 to my name. I moved. I didn't know. I was like, okay, if I have to work at Target until I'm able to find a job in the industry that I want, I'm going to do that. So there were a lot of doubts. I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 other girls for the first couple of months until I, had my footing. I was like, I'm never going to tour. But I think I just kept going. Like I said, I kept taking those opportunities that were available. I kept meeting people and letting them know what it was that I wanted to do, and taking all the opportunities I could to learn, and made something of it. But yeah, of course, I think that anytime somebody takes a leap to do something new or something that they're passionate about, there's going to be doubts. And, am I good enough is a really big one. Am I going to meet the people that I need to? Am I going to be able to pay my bills? Am I going to be able to put food on the table? So yes, lots of doubts for sure.
Yeah. Well, luckily you took all those steps and met as many people as you did to kind of get the ball rolling, get your own place, and then kind of continue the growth, in the path that you're in. So what does a typical day look like for you? Now, I know that you have the stuff that happens during the show itself, but I'm sure there's a lot of other things that happen either before and after. So talk through like a typical day or a typical show, what that looks like.
Yeah. So we'll talk through a typical show. It starts months, sometimes weeks, but normally months before the show actually happens. So we're, talking with, as a lighting director, I'm talking with management, or I'm talking with the client or the artist and coming up with a vision. What do they want their show to be? What colors do they want? What colors do they not want? What size venues are we doing? Are we doing, churches where we're having to push through small doors? Are we doing arenas where everything is designed for you to come in and out of? We come up with a plan, find the gear, get to day of show, and I will go in we'll arrive to the venue probably around 7:30, 8 o'clock. I'm normally in the venue by 8:30, start with some coffee, maybe a bagel. I help typically mark points for where everything is going to be hung. I will hang up all the lights, we'll run all the cable, we'll get all the power plugged in, and then I will go out to front of house, which is if you go to a concert or if you're at an event, there's normally like a booth either in the center of the room or in the back of the room where there's like lots of computers and consoles and stuff like that. So I'll go there. I will run through like a focus. I'll make sure, if we're in a room last week that has a trim height, which the ceiling is only 16 feet. And today we're in a room where the ceiling is 40 feet. My lights are going to be not focused the same way. So I'll go through and I'll update all my focuses. If I'm adding in the gear that the venue already has, I will, play with the colors. And then hopefully I'll get to go hang out on the bus for a little bit, get some lunch. We'll do sound checks normally. I will, if the artist or the client is adding new songs or new sections to their conference or whatever, we'll run through those things, and then doors, and then showtime. Then we tear it all down. We go to the next city and we do it all over again. Sometimes it's, the same show night after night. And sometimes I'm doing one show one weekend that I've worked on for, several months. And then the next weekend I've got another show that was a whole nother process of working through. And so lots of different ways for your day to go, but that's typically how a show comes together in the lighting world.
Nice. And there's one thing that you mentioned that I never thought about as a concert goer. If the band or the artist, makes a last minute change and that has an impact on how you have everything set up, especially if you have a thing where, like Kanye and Jay-Z are playing the same song 13 times in a row, which they didn't do in any other show. That has an impact on the work that you do, obviously. So now it's kind of coming together as far as the changes that you have to make, the day of, even though you've made these, practices and things in place, throughout months before. So that must take some talent to be able to do those last minute adjustments.
Yeah. And you would be surprised how often tours that have everything nailed in decide to change something last minute, or you're in a new city and they're like, oh, Taylor Swift is here tonight and she's going to come out and do a song with us. And you're like, oh no, this is a song I've never heard before. And you have to, you can't have the lights black. You got to do something with the lights. And so, on the fly changes happen all the time, for sure.
There you go. So now what would you say is one misconception about what you do and kind of the career path that you have? If you were to mention anything in case somebody's thinking about or has a preconception of what, someone in lighting for live entertainment does.
I think the biggest misconception of touring professionals or live event professionals is that this is just a hobby for us. Or this is just something that we do as a side gig. For most of us, this is our main job. We are professionals. This is our craft. We've spent years learning, whether it's going to school or internships or whatever. And so for my family, sometimes I have to remind them, this is my job. I am making a living doing this. I'm not just out pushing some buttons for fun. And so for, parents who may be listening, like this is a career, this can be a successful career. And for students who are listening, like this can be something that you can do, you can be successful at, and you can make a career out of it for the rest of your life. And I think like I did an event a couple of years ago, and one of the guys said, "Oh, so you guys do this like every day?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, so you guys are kind of like professionals."
Kind of.
Yeah, a little bit like professionals. Yeah, but no, we are professionals. And I think that's the biggest misconception. People think that we're all about partying and, rock and roll and all this stuff. And it's not like that anymore. This is a real job, and people spend a lot of time and money making sure that they can do their job well. So
yeah, there you go. Well, thanks for breaking all of that down. I'm sure I definitely learned something from that. Now, when it comes to just kind of different variations of what you do, now you may play or do the lighting for, a number of different types of shows in terms of genres and of artists and musicians and things like that. But what other things can you do if you're, skilled in lighting? How can you kind of expand if you want to do things maybe outside of music?
You can do house of worships are a great place for people who are in that environment, who want to get some experience, or who want to maybe only do it as a hobby. This can also be done as a hobby. It doesn't have to be a professional thing, but house of worships, you can do like architectural lighting. So like if you go to different cities and you see their lights all lit up for Pride or for 4th of July or whatever, like that is a lighting person who's made those things come to life. You can do lighting for TV, lighting for film. You can do, theater lighting where you're not doing all kinds of flashy strobe stuff. You're just doing like very tasteful changes. Housing lighting, like I guess that rolls into architectural lighting, but there's lots of different opportunities for someone who's passionate about lighting, who doesn't have to necessarily go on the road or work with, musicians or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then was music your first choice? Like, that's what I'm going to go for? Or did you have to explore a little bit before you kind of ran into, what you're doing now?
Music was my first choice. I wanted to be a singer, but I'm not that talented when it comes to singing. I can do karaoke really well, but that's about it. And so music has always been something that I'm passionate about. So when I had the opportunity to work in the music industry and use my other skills other than my singing, that was definitely something that spoke to me.
Awesome. Hey, well, karaoke stars are still those that we cherish out here. So awesome stuff. So now, if someone is kind of thinking about this as a career, whether they take, the route of going to school, to get a formal education, or kind of starting from the ground up where you're just, doing an internship and getting the experience, meeting people and kind of working your way up until you find that place that's right for you. What advice would you give to a student, and then particularly a Black student? Because I know that there may be challenges when it comes to, finding people who look like you and, getting the right support. So what advice would you give to anybody who's thinking about this?
One would be, don't give up. Like, if this is something that you're passionate about, if this is something that you want to do, there are opportunities available to you. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Learn what a good question is. Ask those questions. If you're wanting to do lighting, watch videos of, concerts and start to find out, okay, well, what is happening to the lights here? How would I learn how to do that? How would I ask someone what's happening? I would also say, there aren't a lot of, I think I know maybe 3 Black women in the industry. There aren't a lot of people who look like me. And there aren't a lot of people of color in general. So I would say, don't let that discourage you. We need diversity in the industry. People are wanting to diversify the industry. And so just keep going, keep asking questions. Find organizations. There are some really great organizations out there that are helping people get from knowing zero about the industry to now becoming a professional. There's lots of opportunities, and just keep looking for them, keep asking questions would definitely be my advice to someone.
That's what's up. Thank you for that. Now, with all the things that you've done and things that you've experienced, and just, getting through all the obstacles that you've, run into with your career, how would you define success? What does that mean to you specifically?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Personally, for me, at this point in my life, success looks like having a healthy balance. There have been years and years where I have kind of like dug myself into the ground trying to make connections or, take every little gig. And I think there is a season for that, right? There's a season to really hustle. But for me, success is when I have the opportunity to say, okay, this weekend, I'm not going to take any work because this weekend is going to be my only weekend this month that I'm not going to have anything to do, or this Monday and Tuesday, if you know. So finding that balance, finding taking time for your mental health is, I feel like successful people do that. That is something that successful people do. So that would be my advice. Find that balance, find what works for you. Don't burn yourself out. That's not success. I feel like several years ago, success for our society was, being able to take vacations and being able to have time off, where now when people talk about success, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to walk on the treadmill and send emails and listen to a podcast. And it's like, okay, that's great sometimes, but sometimes it's okay to just take a step back and take a break. And for me, that's what success is.
There you go. Yeah. It's always good to be able to just schedule out free time. We're always, in the process of just kind of filling up the calendar, fill some empty space, by just putting a empty space in that calendar and creating that balance. So thank you for that.
Right.
Now, yeah, with you having the opportunity to be on the road and everything, I'm sure you've, heard and seen some, either funny, crazy things or whatever, but like what's like maybe a story that kind of stands out for you as, someone who is in lighting, for live music, what's something that has standed out for you?
Oh man. Seeing, I went to a concert and I was like, oh, I wouldn't have done that. I would not have done the lights that way. But, years later, I'm like, man, to see how people can do everything, like you can take one song and have everybody interpret it differently, have everybody like create different emotions with that music, is not really funny, but it's just a beautiful thing. That's been, in all my years, something that still astounds me, to be able to see the level of creativity and how everybody, like, there's not really bad creativity, right? Like, it's just creativity. It's an art form. And so that's awesome for me.
Yeah. And then have you felt like you've developed your own style or at least approach when it comes to, setting up for that show, like regardless of what the genre is?
I do. I think, well, I guess it depends. Yes and no. I have my like ground rules, but they are just the foundation. And then I feel like for every artist or every client, I kind of just adjust for what their needs are. Of course, like I don't ever want to use green because I think green makes everybody look really weird, but some people really love green. So if that's, my ground rule, and then a client is like, I really want this song to be green, I'm going to give them green. But I think that, I've kind of developed my own little creativity. I like to call my lighting really moody and emotional. So like a slow ballad is where I feel like I really thrive. I'm not really great at like maybe a hip hop show or a EDM or metal or something like that. But when it comes to making people feel things, I feel like that's my niche.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny how you put the artistic side as well as the technical side in, together, and you're creating these moments, experiences, and feelings, like you said, in every show that you're doing. So that must be pretty cool to be able to kind of combine everything.
Yeah, it really is, to see it all come together, not just the lighting and the technical aspects, but making my client's vision come to life is so rewarding.
Awesome. So, and then finally, what do you think is like a rite of passage that all students should go through? Whether it's in their career search or while they're in school, or just something that you are officially a student and you have experienced this one thing. What do you think that would be?
That's a good question. I'm gonna say, I want to say something like plugging in something wrong, like everybody has to do it, so they learn not to do that, or getting electrocuted. I would hate for people to do that, but like, they'll learn really quick what not to do. I don't know. There's just, yeah, I'm going to go with something like that. Doing the things wrong first is a rite of passage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has to do it. Everybody's done it. Don't let anybody tell you that they haven't. Everybody's blown up something at some point. It's just a rite of passage. Once you do it, you're like, okay, I'll never do it again. Technically a professional now. So
Yeah. To have that one thing, you're like, nope, I remember exactly how I felt, what burned down that day. I remember everything. We're not having that. We're not having that happen again. So awesome.
It's a good lesson, and everybody's got to do it.
Absolutely. So, don't get electrocuted, but it's okay to blow something up. That's the lesson.
Oh man, the number of times I've accidentally blown something up it's embarrassing.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, Danielle, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and all the things that come with lighting. Hopefully we've inspired somebody. But if there's any last words that you have, or any way that people can reach you in case they have any additional questions, I'm going to give you the floor for that.
Yeah, awesome. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed this conversation. My piece of advice to anybody listening to this, whether they want to be in the industry or not, is don't be afraid to ask questions. That for me is so huge in your field, whether it's lighting or audio or accounting. Like, ask questions. In every field, people would rather give you the answers so that you can be successful than to see you fail or make mistakes that then somebody else has to come and fix. And so asking questions, professionals love questions. They love helping people be successful. You can reach me at Instagram at D_E_lights, so DE lights, or on via email, danielle.lampy@gmail.com. I love answering questions. I love helping people get into the industry. Also, a great resource, Diversify The Stage, for people who want to be in like the music business side of the industry. And then the Even Network is a great organization for people who are wanting to be on the technical side of the industry. So.
Perfect. We'll make sure to have all of that in the description. So again, thank you for being on the show. And thanks to everybody who's been watching and listening. Don't forget to follow us at Inquire Higher on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Check out our website, inquirehigher.com. And we got a lot of great information there. And we just opened up our new online community to help Black students and professionals link up and gain mentorship resources and all of that. So please consider checking that out and joining. So until next time, peace.